So it means that we have to scrap whatever it is that we can put together that is going to form part of our show today. The markets are closed today, we do know that. So we have to generally look at where the market is. So let's talk about that then. And at 2020, that's when we did see our market, number one, we did see it crash, good. And then number two, again, we did see it go below the 2 trillion mark. Then you're asking yourself the question, are we there? Yes, we are there in 2020. So if you want to know how bad things are, that if you look at where we are in the market, if you look at just market cap by itself, you will say we're back again to the 2020 levels, because the COVID-19 pandemic is the one that was a big factor to that. But then if you look at where we are right now, in the wake of rising interest rates in the US market, that have contributed to a lot of investor flight from the country. We're talking about 668 billion shillings that has been wiped off the market since the beginning of the year. In fact, we are rated the second worst performing stock in Africa. That's how bad things have been. If you look at what we're talking about right now, in terms of what the market cap is, it really points to a lot. Yes, you will see that Safaricom has been hitting the numbers, and you're going to see that. Like last week, there were 20 million. We saw them touch the 40 million mark on the back of that official launch of the operations in Ethiopia. But then every other indicator, despite it posting positive on Friday, generally throughout the week, it was negative. And you do a proper summary of how the NSE 25 has been, the NSE 20 has been, and the NSE All Share Index. You will see that generally this year, everything has been pointing southwards. And even the number of deals then that will lead to this negative movement in the market cap are also been on a negative. So that's where we are. Generally, the market is depressed as a result of the investor flight that we're seeing in the country right now. But let's point out one thing though. Some stocks have been performing. You will talk about the banking quarters, you talk about the manufacturing quarters like EABL and all that, but it stops there. The market has generally been depressed. Back to COVID-19 pandemic levels, where the market cap was below the 2 trillion mark. But then when you look around, everything again is pointing to that. Because where you want to get that money to invest? Inflation right now at 9.2%. Banks are hitting you left, right, and center with increased interest rates. In fact, your bank could be asking you for even upwards of 18%, 19%, because the risk-based lending model is back in draft as well. So they give you money depending on how good you've been at repaying back. So that's how it is though. So things are not really that good. And we'll be having these conversations after the markets take a break, but we do have an analysis for you throughout the entire show on exactly what has been the biggest trends in the markets over the weekend. Now to Monday, we do know that those are 3 days off. Let's see whether they pick Tuesday, maybe with the perceived liquidity increase in the market. This is Lookupbusiness. My name is Simba. Elijah Charles Kiage. Catch us live at Lookup TV across all your social media platforms. Let's get started right now. Commercial Bank KCB has assessed luxury hotel English Point Marina for a second time after a court lifted a ban that was put in place back in July, stopping the lender from repossessing the property over a 5.2 billion shillings debt. Court of Appeal froze High Court orders by Justice Dora Chepkwony that blocked KCB Group's appointed receiver manager Kamal Anatroy but from taking over English Point Marina without disclosing the reasons. The latest ruling by Justice Chepkwony means that Kenya Commercial Bank will return to the property until the appeal against the High Court ruling is heard and determined, effectively setting ground for a longer court fight over the property. Honorable Lady Justice Chepkonyi, while lifting the ban, indicated the reasons behind the latest decision will be given later on the 14th of October, pending the hearing and determination of the applicant's intended appeal. KCB had seized the property back in June, but were kicked out after a month of fights with the owners of the property. English Point Marina is owned by Amena Kanji, his wife Leila, brother Al-Anur, sister-in-law Nafisa, and Nazir Ejina. The luxury property is located by the harbour and consists of 96 apartments, 8 penthouses, and a 26-room hotel. It is one of the few private projects granted at the Vision 2030 private sector flagship status. According to the court papers, KCB agreed to grant the farm loans between 2011 and 2018. The farm has been servicing the loan and enjoyed a moratorium that lapsed in June 2020. So far, the farm has paid 3.3 billion shillings. KCB took over English Point Marina after the bank tried several times to restructure the loan, but the owners were still unable to meet the payments. Banks have been compelled to place companies under receivership to deal with the mounting bad loans. The ratio of gross non-performing loans to gross loans stood at 14.2% in August 2022 compared to 14% in February. For Lookupbusiness, Simba, Elijah Charles, Kiage. News of Safaricom officially launching their operation in Ethiopia with 200,000 subscribers excited a market that was stagnant throughout the week. Safaricom ended the week as both the biggest gainer and mover on the NSE. John Mukora with the analysis.
Friday saw Safaricom attract 20,918,000 at the close of trading, which was a huge drop from the 40 million shares traded on Thursday. This is on the back of Safaricom's new plan to penetrate the Ethiopian market by raiding on data. Its shares price that has been oscillating around 23 shillings closed on Friday trading, with a 7% rise to touch 25 shillings and 50 cents on Friday's trading. Safaricom is expected to continue the rally as investors process the news of impending mobile license, which might take shape of the heavily successful M-Pesa. Nairobi Business Ventures was the top gainer in Friday's trading, rising with 9.68%, closed trading at 3 shillings and 40 cents. This coming from the news that the stock graduated into the main investment market memes, which means that investors anticipate more capital inflow into the company that is riding a diversified portfolio. The insurance industry continued to post hot and cold performance, with Sanlam closing the week as the biggest loser, with the share dropping by 9.62% to 9.02 of a cent. CIC and Kenya Re also made entries in the losers list, compounding the insurance quarter further. However, the stellar performance of Safaricom did not help improve the overall performance of NSE in the week, with all indices pointing south. NSE All-Share Index (NASI) closed on a positive of 123.63 points, which was a drop of 0.66% in the week. NSE 20 also ended on a positive recording of 1,677.36 points, which was again a negative 3.91% drop in the week. The drop continued, with the NSE 25 dropping by negative 24.77%, although Friday's trading ended on a positive of 2,994.90 points. It looks as if the KPLC surprise rally still continue, with the stock still making appearance in the top 5 movers of the week. Whether this continues is to be seen, but one expectation is clear that Safaricom will rule the week. John Mukora, Lookupbusiness.
John Mukora with that analysis. Now, Kilifi County government, in conjunction with several partners, have started a relief food distribution exercise for the families affected by the ongoing drought and famine in Kilifi County. Speaking during the event at Kilifi, leaders led by Governor Gideon Mungaru have asked the national government to support the affected families with more relief food. Shadrach Kareria with that story.
Cues of hope in Ganze constituency in Kilifi County. as locals line up to receive relief food from the county government and other partners, with the only food items to quench the biting hunger to the affected families in Dandosa area, where meager maize flour, soaps and lamps that families here claim won't go a long way.
I'm happy to be here in Kilifi County this morning to support the community in Ganze through the efforts of our Lions Clubs in Mombasa, in particular Lions Club of Mombasa Pwani, who have partnered together with other organizations.
Even in our own little way, we are doing what is right, and we hope that many people are going to come on board to ensure that this hunger problem stops.
Speaking at the event, Kilifi Governor Gideon Mungaru and his deputy Flora Chibule thanked the team as they called on the national government to come to their aid by giving them more relief food.
Swala kuu ni kwamba hata tunapofanya hino ni short term goal. Long term goal kama serikali ya Kilifi, serikali ya Gideon Maitha Mungaro ni kwamba tuna mikakati ya kufanya kuweka haya mabwawa ya maji. Tuna hizi ponds ambazo kwa wakati huu hii mitara kwa wakati huu imekauka, lakini tuna dams 3 na tuna boreholes ambazo tumechimba.
Jumatatu nitakuwa na mkutano na wafanyakazi tume yote ya kaunti ya Kilifi pamoja na county commissioner na ma-DC, tupange mambo ya janga la njaa ambalo limekumba watu wetu wa Kilifi. Na kuanzia Jumatatu mkutano mwingine utaendeshwa na deputy governor, mimi nitaenda mwingine Nairobi. Kuanzia wiki ijayo mwisho kila sehemu ya Kilifi ambayo imekumbwa na baa la njaa itakuwa na chakula kwa watu wetu, ili watu wasife na njaa. Tunakubaliana?
The leaders, however, lamented that the relief food issued by President William Ruto is yet to reach the county, stating that charitable organizations have since been helping them with relief food instead of the national government.
Janga la njaa limeingia sasa katika Kenya nzima. Naibu wa Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, yeye alianzisha huo mradi ya kwamba Kenya nzima kule ambako kuna njaa, baa la njaa limeshika, vyakula viweze kupelekwa. Lakini hivi sasa kile chakula ambacho kimetolewa na serikali ya kati bado hakijafika ndani ya Kilifi County.
Leaders further assured the residents that the county government is doing all it can to mitigate the hunger in the county. Shadra Kareria, Lookup TV.
Farmers in Nakuru County are urging the government and especially Cabinet Secretary appointee for Environment and Forestry, Soipana Tuya, and his counterpart for Agriculture and Livestock Development, Mithika Linturi, to help implement policies that will assist the government make informed decisions regarding the shamba system and sustainability of the forest ecosystems once in office.
Yes. Nchi yetu tuko na shida ya njaa kubwa sana, na kupanda miti kwa forest ni miaka 3 miti na kufukuza. You know very well, mahindi pahali kwa msitu haiwezi kukua, viazi pahali kwa msitu haiwezi kukua, mboga sukuma wiki haiwezi kukua. This forest of Bahati, it is feeding the people of Nakuru County. Ukiangalia watu wakiteremsha Hasora Nation, wakiteremsha mboga, madharo, sukuma wiki, ile wanateremsha kuleta hapa town, is feeding the whole of this county. But what we are saying, we are not fighting for this misitu iharibiwe. No. Indigenous forest, nobody can touch, even us. Hatuwezi kubali kutwa na mtu. Na ningetaka kuuliza Tobiko ambaye alikuwa, atuoneshe ile miti amepanda tangu aingie ni ngapi na atuonesha pahali iko.
Plantation ama mambo ya ukulima wa msitu. Waenda katika Forest Act 2016 under section 48 article 2 H ataona imekuwa na imenakiliwa pale, inasema kwa kabisa is one of the user right katika wale watu wanatuza msitu. Na saa hii mnasema mahindi hakuna, na ni ile imekuwa ikisaidia kama eneo yetu ambayo tuko nayo ni area kubwa sana, watu waliacha mambo ya kulima msitu kwa maana hakuna kitu wanaweza kubenefit na mahindi. Hii kazi yote community wanafanya, si kulipwa, huwa wanalipwa. They get benefit just from that slight things ambayo wanalima msitu, watoto wanasoma, wanaweza kuwa na chakula.
Probably there has been a bit of politics about this system. It is not unique to Kenya. In fact, it is called Tangia system, and it started in Burma so many years ago. It's been practiced in many other countries, including South Africa and Ghana. I've been there, I've seen it working. So watu waache hii mambo ya siasa mingi na kuongea mambo ambayo hawaelewi tafadhali. They should speak to professionals. I'm a trained forester, a competent one, and I can say without fear of contradiction that we have regulations controlling this process. The government has also recognized that it is something that's working. That's why it's in the act. Amwezi sema hao watu wenye walikaa bunge wakapitisha hii sheria walikuwa waenda wazimu. They were properly advised. That's why they put it under the act. So hii sio mambo ya kwenda ati kukata miti ya kienyeji ama kuharibu miti kwa sababu ya ukulima. Ukulima unafanyika watu wafaidike na pia msitu ufaidike.
Miti inakuja inakuliwa na panya namna gani? Watu walime na serikali ipate miti. This is what we...
Embu Governor Cecily Mbarire has vowed to weed out rogue miraa traders in the county who are destabilizing local miraa trade by registering all legal traders. She was addressing miraa traders in the county who were protesting what they termed as harassment by unregistered middlemen who had pitched camp in the region. The traders torched their kiosks and later marched to the police station demanding their removal from the county.
We want to register kila mtu ambaye anakuja hapa kununua miraa yetu. Awe anajulikana. Ndio mtu akicheza na mkulima wetu wa miraa hapa Embu, tujue ni nani kwa majina. Lakini sio mtu akuja hatumjui, amekuja kununua, amekataa kulipa watu. We want to structure miraa marketing in Dawa, in Siakago. We make sure we register every single person who is coming to buy miraa here. Tuwajue kwa majina na tuwe na registration ndio tusiletewe wakora tukiambiwa ni watu wa biashara ya miraa.
Ile kitu wamefanya njana ni kuanza kupiga ambere kule, askari wanakimbisha watu wa bodaboda na wanawatanyika. Kwa kweli
All right, let's take a short break. Once we come back, we'll be looking at the money market. So we don't know exactly how the market. Here's the thing. I keep on saying it's a holiday, Tamaduni. We're just supposed to celebrate it. So we're not trading right now. So we gotta go all the way to Friday and then tell you exactly how they close. We do know because Edwin John Mokora did give you that analysis. Let's then look at it in entirety and see what we're looking for. We're looking for Safaricom, we're looking for Nairobi Business Ventures, and that's exactly what we're going to look for in the gainers list. Let's then take a look at what the top 5 in terms of the gainers. And yes, do we have Safaricom? Because we do know they closed at 25.50. Yes, indeed, we do have them at number 3 at a 25 shillings and 50 cents, representing 7.82% increase. And we do know why. The news about the launch in Ethiopia and with the money market as well, them being extended the mobile lend, the money mobile, yes, business. Then it's anxiety in the market, and we did expect that this would jump because it closed at 20 million shares traded Friday. So you will see it like that. Nairobi Business Ventures, yes, are they there? Indeed they are, and we do know why. The news about Nairobi Business Ventures is that they've graduated from the GEMS segment to the meme segment. That's the main investment market segment at the NSE after meeting those shareholder ratios and capital ratios as well. So indeed, you'd expect then that majority of people will be looking at Nairobi Business Ventures, a particular stock that has announced proper diversification of that stock as from 2020 up to where we are right now in terms of cement manufacturing and airline business. That's why you'd expect them to be there as well. 9.68% increase, representing 3 shillings and 40 cents, by the way. There was a time in 2020 that they went up to 5 shillings. Now you can get it at 3 shillings and 40 cents. And if you are bidding for the future, this is the one. And we do have the likes of Portland Cement and the rest of that in the top 5 lists that have been there for some time that do not really make news in that top 5 list. Let's look at the biggest losers then from last Friday, in as much as that particular trade is concerned. And on that, we'd like to be looking at the biggest surprises in that. Sanlam, again, I've come back again, because right now, they're 9 shillings and 0.2 cent. As one means, you can get it, that particular share at 9 shillings, representing 9.62% change in that particular share. Yes, a lot of the ones that we've been seeing in this list, but again, Scan Group comes back again at 2 shillings and 97 cents, representing 7.19% change in that particular list. Not so much of surprises in this list. It's been like this, and you expect that majority of these counters here could come back again. Let's move into the big boys. The biggest movers in as much as Friday trading is concerned. Remember, the markets are not open today. I keep on saying that. It's the weekend. No, it's not actually the weekend. It's holiday. So no trading going on at that particular one. All right. Safaricom, especially now, comes in with 20,918,000 flat. By the way, just when you look at the way the market is, then you will say since Thursday, Wednesday, that majority of the trading then has been headlined by Safaricom. No wonder the story that Edwin John Mukora did and said, well, Safaricom headline trading. Because 20 million shares traded. And then you go back to Thursday last week, 40 million shares traded. And then if you look at who is next after Safaricom, Equity comes with 2 million shares. So it's close to nothing compared to the 20 million that Safaricom is clocking. And by the way, we want to see exactly how that share price is gonna read after they officially start their money business. That's peer-to-peer business in Ethiopia. We do know how successful M-Pesa has been in terms of the headline revenue. So probably this is going to be big news for anybody who just wants to put the money in that particular stock right now. KPLT still rallying. That was the headline. But then they've moved away from the 9 million, 10 million shares that were trading a couple of weeks ago on the back of the Ndidi Nyoro news. They're back to where they belong, 444,400. But the news is that they're still making top 5. Interesting. Then EABL will come in at 320,000. These are the, you would like to call them the marquee stocks. It's like majority of Kenyans like drinking so much. So even when the economy is doing bad, EABL is up there. And NCBA closes at least with 311,700. And we do know why. They're among the few banks in the country that decided to pay that interim dividend. So that particular stock is still exciting investors. You could say that. As the analysis, and I do promise that we should be bringing in market experts here to tell you exactly where to put your money. So probably now make sense of this rally that we've seen from KPLT and also make sense of Safaricom. Do you think they're going to break the 30 shillings mark? Because back in 2020, by the way, they were headed to the 43 shillings range. That's huge. Wait, that's huge. So this time Ethiopia Business really didn't do so much to this particular stock because they saw them move from 23 to 25. You would say 24 to 25, depending on how you look at it. Not so much. You like to think it would have, but then it did not. Good. Now, here on Lookupbusiness, we don't have those conversations that also to touch personally on you. What do you know about GMO? And what has informed the government's latest decision to say that you can grow GMO maize and you can import GMO maize into the country? Once we come back, that conversation with Consumer Grassroots Association of Kenya. Once we come back.
Born a man, the society bestows tough responsibilities upon you.
Lazima uwe mtu wa bidii, ukija kuoa lazima uwe ni provider.
If you're not able to provide, that's a challenge. It takes a toll on a man.
It takes someone who is strong enough to face it.
This is Born a Man.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses in-depth knowledge and extensive experience in the industry, offering thorough training in cosmetology, hairdressing, interior design, creative arts, training of trainers, nail technology, and fashion design. With branches in Nairobi, Thika, Meru, Eldoret, and now in Mombasa, our courses ensure that learners are completely equipped with knowledge, competency, and employability skills. Enroll today to be a part of a center of excellence.
Yippee! Kamata plotting at 349K. Oh yes, for only 349,000 Kenyan shillings, you become a plot owner at the Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki. The Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki is located along the Nanyuki-Rumuruti Road, only 11 minutes from the City Mall and right opposite Mount Kenya Wildlife Estate. This is the best place to establish the getaway home that you have always dreamt about. For every 349,000 that you deposit or pay as installment towards any of Optiven's plot of land, you get 10K cash back instantly. Jaza basi twende Nanyuki. Bigger is indeed better.
GMO maize. And the reason they gave around this particular decision that they did make 2 weeks ago was the current drought that is facing the country. Whether that's a good decision or not, to lay that decision on is for you and I to investigate. Now, we've had a lot of organizations coming in to give the good and the bad around this conversation, stemming all the way from the 2012 President Mwai Kibaki's ban. Let's take a look at this story from last week on the GMO conversation. Then I do have the main participant in that story in the studio today. I'm going to introduce her to you. Then after that, we get into the conversation. Let's take a look.
Cannot force us to consume what you want us to consume. You cannot create a scenario where maybe there'll be artificial lack of food so that we can fall in love with your GMOs. No, we have a right to choose.
Lifting of the ban of GMO has continued to bring about different reactions from Kenyans, with non-governmental organizations saying that 57% of Kenyans were not in agreement with President Ruto's move to lift the ban and allow importation of planting of genetically modified seeds and animal feeds.
A survey conducted by Root to Food Initiative in December 2021 showed that a majority of Kenyans, and that is 57% of Kenyans, are not willing to consume GMOs. The lifting of the ban, therefore, goes against the will of the Kenyan people and goes against their human right to food. What was the rush to lift the ban on GMOs even before such a basic safeguards are in place?
The National Coordinator of Biodiversity and Biosafety Association Kenya, Ann Maina, says that there was no public participation that happened.
The lack of public participation. The rash decision to lift the ban on the importation of GMOs into the country lacked public participation. No public consultations were done and the views of the public were not considered in the decision to lift the ban, which essentially curtails the freedom of Kenyans to choose what they want to eat or not.
This is not a fair market for our farmers. Our neighbors, Uganda and Tanzania, will also not favorably compete with the US-based farmers. And we are just wondering whether this is the bottom-up approach that we were promised.
They have also noted that the government organizations have been at the forefront spreading misinformation. Their call now is to have the GMO dismissed.
That the government institutions entrusted by the people to protect them and act in their interest would propagate misinformation about the intention and the attributes of GMOs. Some of the misinformation peddled by government institutions about GMOs include the following, and I will list them briefly. One, that the BT maize is early maturing.
The introduction of the GMO has continued to bring about mixed reaction. Some of the stakeholders citing that they were not involved by the government in the passing of the bill. Then, what next? Kariuki Ndwati, Look Up TV, Nairobi.
With me in the studio is the Executive Director, Consumer Grassroots Association, Alice Kemunto. How are you doing, Alice?
I'm fine.
Welcome
and
to
I've
Look
not
at
consumed
Business.
GMOs today.
But they're in the country, isn't it?
I don't say yes or no,
Yes.
but I'm sure I didn't consume GMOs.
Yes.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Let's take you back to that story. And I would like to first start with your comments on that particular story. Number one, you said, what is the rush? Number two, you said, indeed, the current drought then in the country could have been mitigated differently, not to the point where we're saying, let's introduce GMO. Let's begin from your particular sentiments on this conversation. What is the rush?
Thank you very much for this opportunity once again to speak to consumers out there and Kenyans at large. Indeed, the ban on GMO is really disappointing to consumers, especially of this country. And from the research that was done, 51% of Kenyans are not willing to consume GMOs. And those willing to consume GMOs, sometimes when you look at that research, you'll see that most of them don't know what GMOs are about and the effects of GMOs. The question you asked me is, what the rush? It's true. I don't understand what informed the lifting of the ban as an individual. And when you also ask our members, they're also saying they don't know why the president lifted the ban on GMOs without consulting stakeholders. And consumers are a key stakeholder in the same. Because when you're making this decision, you're making on whose behalf? It's on our behalf as consumers, the end users of this product. So did you consult us to give you a thumbs up so that you can lift the ban? What has changed over the years since 2012 up to now? Is there any information out here to show what they have done as government to go back and look at what the issues that were raised during the ban, whether they have been addressed as it is right now before they lift the ban? So those are the issues that we are asking. We are not out here to fight with anyone. We just want our rights to be upheld. We don't want anyone, including the president, to be pushed to infringe on the consumer rights.
Yes.
Yes.
Pretty much. Let's dial it back a bit in 2012. There was a research done that informed former President Mwai Kibaki's decision to ban the importation and the growing of GMO in the country. You, as a consumer rights protector, could you have loved that when they were announcing the lifting of that ban, they would have started by going back to the 2012 ban and giving us findings first before then saying, this is why we're lifting it?
Exactly. This is what we are saying. Before lifting the ban, highlight or tell us what informed that.
Yes.
Go back to the issues that were raised that time. during 2012.
Yes.
And then go down and highlight what government has done and what scientists have done as purported that they have done something on GMO, which I'm not really sure, because in Kenya we know that we don't have the capacity to carry out that research of such a magnitude.
Yes.
Help us understand that these are the areas that were raised, and especially maybe causing cancer, that GMOs cause cancer, then come up with a research to counter that before you lift the ban, or a good explanation on why. Don't use the suffering of Kenyans, the 4.6 million Kenyans, don't ride on it to lift a ban. That is just, you are laughing at us as consumers.
Yes.
And that is really taking advantage of our situation, which is very wrong. So the government could have gone back, highlight issues that were raised by that time. Then tell us on issue number 1, this is what we have come to, we have found out from A, B, C, D research. And this issue number 2, this is what you have come up with. Then that way, we would understand as consumers. Remember, Article 46 of the Constitution gives me and you a right of information.
Yes.
You need to understand what took place before the lifting of the ban.
Yes.
Yes.
Let me take you back again to what informed this lifting of this ban again. They did point out to a certain variety of cotton in the country that is GMO based, that they're saying is performed proper and it does not attract pest and diseases. So they said, you see, this cotton variety then is performing to this level. We have a critical part in this country, maize, that we need to address as well. What if we go that direction as well? Comparison of maize with cotton.
Remember that we don't eat cotton. That's not food. Cotton is meant for textile.
Yes.
But when it matters of food, that is a basic right, a basic human right that you cannot play around with. Food is so key. Food is everything. Food means your health. Food means the whole of you. So when it comes to food, we are not supposed to play games with food or play politics with food. So if cotton did well, and of which we have also farmers who have complained about what they were promised, actually what they ordered versus what they received are two different things.
Yes.
So they asked for, they were told, they were promised heaven, that they were told this cotton will produce more yields, but we have reports, it's all over, you people in the media have reported that farmers are complaining this cotton is not really of the quality that we were promised, it's of the inferior quality out there, it's not competing with other products from other areas.
Yes.
And number 2, when you're talking about BT crops, it means that there will be someone who will be selling seeds continuously. Unlike the old ways that we could grow and then we keep some of the seeds from our produce to plant in the next season.
Yes.
But right now you have to go back to the shop again and get seeds. What if those seeds are not there? And then number 2, these GMO seeds that are being really hyped. I want someone to tell me, why is it that the seeds are subsidized? If it's so good and very cheap, why are the seeds subsidized? Those are the issues that we want arrested first before lifting the ban. And then on the smallholder farm, remember in Kenya, 70 to 80% of the food produced, consumed in this country is produced by smallholder farm.
Yes.
Remember that these smallholder farmers are not, they are not miles apart one from the other. So if one, assuming you are doing the GMO and I'm doing organic food, what will stop cross-pollination from your farm to my farm And it will not really contaminate, but it will compromise the quality of food that I'll be producing. Is there a law in place or regulation in place to protect that smallholder farm? These are the issues that we are raising. We are not fighting with anyone. We are raising these issues so that by the time we accept this foreign technology to take place in this Kenya, or to take root in the country, then these issues have to be addressed adequately.
Yes.
Yes.
You represent the consumers at the grassroots level in this country. And when we looked at this issue, we said what is missing essentially at the grassroots level is the penetration of information, the penetration of making consumers aware of their rights. Now, you raised a very interesting point when you started this conversation, that 51% of Kenyans, according to a research done by Route to Food, do not want to consume GMO. Somebody asked this question. Even if there isn't enough information then in the country about GMO and the effects of GMO, would it be okay for us to defend rights of Kenyans that we are not sure that they do know that they have? What should come first, Alice?
You're pulling me in that direction. You're really pulling me. What should come first?
Yes.
The right to information. Let me just handle the right to information.
Yes.
We have a right to be informed on what is happening, especially on areas that issues that touches on our health, issues that touches on our basic rights. So when you're talking about penetration of information to that consumer that is at the grassroots level, it's not our role per se. As consumer organizations and also as civil society organizations, we don't replace government. We only complement where necessary what government does.
Yes.
And also we critique where we feel things are not going right. So it's the role of government to ensure that consumers at the grassroots level have the information about GMOs and not misinformation. If you misinform, then it's also wrong.
Yes.
Like now the misinformation that we have out there, that GMOs are good, GMOs will not, they will survive in harsh climatical areas. GMOs, that is misinformation. We want clear information and evidence-based information. That's what we need at the grassroots level. And this is what we ask. That's where we are representing consumers. We are the voice of consumers, every consumer. By the way, we are representing even the president himself.
Yes.
Yes, he needs to understand that the 57% of Kenyans that don't want to consume GMOs, their voice has to be heard. If indeed is a president of a bottom-up, a president of the common person, then he needs to understand and listen to the common person. Those concerns, that mean 57% of of Kenyans is not a small number.
Now, one thing is going to be clear, Alice, and just before I get to that question, what is your next step of action? Because it looks as if it's a done and dusted deal. We've seen your organization protest this decision by the government then to lift that ban. What should we anticipate from you concerning this announcement? Is there a next step?
First of all, we want to exhaust what is legally available for us.
Yes.
We are talking to government. We issued that statement and we forwarded the statement to relevant authorities. And we expect the president to act. And actually, the role of media is key in ensuring that this information gets to the right people. And we appreciate you so much because now the president has listened. I believe is listening and he will continue listening. We ask him humbly to reverse it and reinstate the ban. If that doesn't happen, then we will begin to explore on other avenues that are within the Constitution.
Yes.
Yes. So these avenues could be going to court, first of all. And if that one doesn't happen, and I think the president should prepare himself to host us for many days because he will protest until that happens.
Yes. What we understand now is that with the traders who are into this business, they do know very well that the gates have been opened for any other person who wants to import maize into the country right now to include GMO. In fact, they would even be very specific. We need GMO into the country because there isn't a ban in the country. From where you're seated, because we are protecting the rights of these consumers, and we haven't seen anything from the government that is saying that every bag of maize that's going to go into the shops right now is going to have the GMO tag on it. Are you also preparing from that front, making sure that any other time from now, because we do know business is an ongoing process and the government wants to deal with this issue of drought in the country, that any other bag that comes into the country would have the GMO tag on it? We haven't seen that the direction from the government.
Those are the regulations we are asking for. Those are the areas we want addressed. We want, if you are producing GM food, let it be labeled as such.
Yes.
So that when we go to the supermarket, a consumer has a right to choose. If they want to eat GM, fine. If they don't want to eat GMO food and they want organic, they'll get the organic food. That is one area that we want to seriously be addressed, because we want all the food that is GM food or non-GM food to be labeled. That is number one. And number two, you know, Kenya, we know Kenya the way we are. We are so keen on export, but we don't care about what we consume in this country. What happens is that when we are exporting food, the agencies are very keen on testing to ensure that it meets the standards of of the market out there. But when it comes now to whatever that is coming in, I don't think we are keen on that. And that's why the policy that is lying, that has not been operationalized, the food policy, the food safety policy, yes, it needs to be active. And also we have the food safety controller. That way, we'll know that in case of anything, we have somewhere to lean on. We have somebody that the blame maybe will stop at. So without that in place, why are you lifting this ban? Honestly, I don't understand what was the rush. I don't understand. Is there someone that is pushing the government to make this decision? Is there someone from out there, the multinational companies that are pushing the government to lift the ban on GM? Because I remember sometimes back when this ban was put into place. I mean, when 2012, when GM was banned, yes, one of the Western countries really protested the act. And they were not happy that the GM food is banned in this country, whether growing or importation. And talking about BT cotton, this is what they are riding on. They are riding on BT cotton. But we want to maintain that this technology is new in this country and even in the world over. Yes. This technology has not lived a whole life cycle to understand what are the effects. So for that reason, let us not use the BT cotton to open window for every other kind of GM to come to the country. And when you are talking about 4.6 million Kenyans who are going hungry, remember in other countries like South Africa, we've had where GM has been practiced for many years, we still have issues of hunger, yes, in that country. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really solve that. The problem that we have in Kenya, it's not a production issue. The problem we have in Kenya is not that we need maize from the GM maize from outside. We have our neighbors who are producing non-GM food. Why can't we get them? And they produce in surplus. Why can't we import from them? Why are we keen on GM only? Why? And this is the answer. This is the answer we want to be given. We have our neighbors in Tanzania, and that they are going to be very keen. Actually, they might be forced to be scrutinizing whatever comes from Kenya, yes, because in Tanzania this has been banned. So, what sort of relationship are we going to have with our neighboring, with our brothers and sisters from the East African community? And remember, we have the market in Africa is too large under the FCFTA. Why is it that some countries want to have a bilateral trade with Kenya and not come through the REC, the regional economic blocks. Why is that happening? There's a lot that we are desiring to really understand, because this lifting of the ban is opening up to a discussion that that will not end today.
Yes, pretty much. You did mention something on what your responsibility is, and I want to put you on the spot like this, Alice. You're in a government that should essentially give this information to the consumers. Make sure that we have enough bodies that then should elevate the rights of the consumer so that we are aware of whatever it is that we're consuming. But you see there's a black spot in here now where the government is pro-GM, but when you look around for information on GM, it is neither here nor there. Does now that change your role as an association that is supposed to protect the consumer rights? Are we going to see a changed role from your end when now again within this GM food, you're the ones who are going to give us this information about GM food?
If the government fails, then we have to take up that role.
Yes.
Otherwise, we wouldn't really want to do that, because it's the sole role of government to ensure that we get information. Remember, agriculture is devolved. And if the Ministry of Agriculture, if agriculture is devolved, there are CCs for agriculture and Department of Agriculture in every county. If the extension officers can be well trained, they will reach each and every part of this country. But if that doesn't happen, then as civil society, we are here in partnership with other stakeholders like the media, to ensure that consumers have information, the correct information that is about GMOs.
Somebody asked again this question, and I'm going to go back again and put you on the spot in this conversation, Alice. Somebody said, all these groups that are talking about do not get GM food into the country, and that particular reason for the government making this decision of bringing GM food in the country, the severe hunger that about 23 counties are facing right now in the country, that could you have a soft spot for the government in this particular decision, going by the fact that, indeed, the country is in a dire need of not just one solution, but any solution that can contribute to alleviating some of the challenges that Kenyans are facing?
Seemingly, the only solution that the government has by now is to lift the ban. Seemingly.
From where you're seated?
Yes, from where I'm seated. This is what we are seeing, and which is wrong. Because we have other, and why are you keen on only, this is a question I asked you, why not you, but I'm just posing out there to consumers, why is the government keen on lifting the ban and not going to purchase or not importing food or maize that we've been importing that's non-GM maize? This is what we're asking. Why does it have to be that? Yes, we have hunger in the country, but we've been importing maize from our neighboring countries that's non-GM food, non-GM maize. Why can't we continue with that? This is the question we need to ask ourselves as Kenyans. Who is this that is behind the lifting of the ban? It seems not clear to all of us, just as it's not clear to you. It's also not clear to us who is behind the lifting of the ban. Yes.
Let's go back to what WHO says. And if you look at what they're talking about GM food, Alice, they're saying that it should be a case-by-case study. That this country, whatever country decided then to go into GM, you will study that particular product that you want to bring into the country as GM. Then after that, you give it a green light. But then, Alice, on that particular presser, again, the government did also give a green light to a couple of other products that they wanted to get results from before they also open it up for GM, which was a big contrast to the way that they treated maize, which they essentially went right ahead to give a green light before they ordered a study. Would that give leeway for you to go back to the courts and have a case?
That is very true. Those are the areas that we're exploring, but we don't want, as I told you, we don't want to take that step before we talk to government, as we are doing now.
Yes.
We are using different avenues to communicate to government so that they can reinstate the ban. Then from there, we come together as stakeholders so we can discuss and come up with a clear solution on this issue. So talking about case by case study, it's true that before you release any foreign technology, any technology, not just foreign, but any technology is accepted by every other stakeholder, then you need to study very well, subject it to public participation before you even release it for use. And this was not done. This was not done. And this is the reason why we are telling the government, you didn't follow the law, the constitution that is, and go back so that we can start all over again.
Pretty much.
And if that one does not happen, then we have other avenues right within the constitution to take action on government.
Pretty much. Alice, we have 45 seconds left for this conversation, and I can't let you go before you speak on something about where we are in terms then of consumer rights in the country, especially at the grassroots level. Are you confident that we're making steps in terms of making consumers aware of their rights, or this is an area that has not yet been scratched? 45 seconds, if you may.
Why only 45 seconds? Now, okay, it's true that we've made some steps on educating consumers on their rights, and we empower them to empower others, also those others to empower their peers so that they can protect themselves. So this is what we are doing, especially as Consumer Grassroots Association, because we cannot be everywhere to protect you. So we encourage consumers to stand up and protect their rights, defend their rights, that is, all over the country. This space is pretty new, and every other stakeholder who is a consumer too needs to come on board. We work together to uphold this, the consumer rights. Because we are looking at a scenario where before anything happens in Kenya, consumers are consulted. Consumers should be subjects and not objects. And this is what we are looking forward to. We are calling on board all stakeholders, and especially on this area of GMO, I'm personally appealing to the religious community to come out just the way they spoke about abortion, the way they spoke, we spoke about abortion, yes, and then we came out strongly, and then we spoke about family planning. We are asking the religious leaders to come out and have a statement or a stand on GMOs, considering and especially calling on the Roman Catholic faithfuls to read the document from the Pope, and that is the Laudato Si encyclical, that highlights very well about nature, environment, and also the GMOs. It's there. We want our our members of the church to come out, and other environmentalists to come out. We work together. We are not working against the government, but we also help them to understand this is where we stand, and we ought to be listened to, and we ought to be given a chance.
Guess what? I'll be calling you back sometime soon so we can actually get to have a discussion then on consumer rights and those ones that we need to understand as consumers. Alice, thank you very much for making time.
Thank you so much for hosting.
Anytime. Take her back to the time that you joined us here on Lookupbusiness at Lookup TV across all your social media platforms. Talk to me directly. And those questions, by the way, that you're going to ask, yes, I'll be sending them to her directly so that then she can get to answer them directly as well. That is Lookupbusiness for today. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode. Goodbye.